H. Gregg. Well, welcome back to Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. The Reds trying to make it back-to-back wins over the Cubs. How about the weather today as we progress through the afternoon? For more on that, here's Jeff Creighton.
Well, it looks like a perfect day for baseball at Great American Ballpark. A little cool in the stands, but pretty nice on the field for the players. 55 that first pitch, 57 by the seventh inning, a slow rise, only up to about 60. Have a great day.
Jeff, thank you very much. Been a good weekend for Johnny Gomes, Mr. Welch.
Well, you're not kidding about that. You talk about a guy that has gotten hot over the last 3 games. .615 batting average. He's hit a home run, a double, 6 runs batted in. The previous games, though, and this is why Johnny Gomes is so streaky, he bat 143. So you're going to get a whole lot of Johnny Gomes in punches, and you're going to get very little Johnny Gomes in punches. You hope that Dusty Baker is able to mix and match him against the right kind of pitchers. One thing he does, though, he brings some kind of enthusiasm and energy to this ball club.
And I know you've been feeling like he was going to get loose any time. Very high on Johnny Gomes was Chris Welsh before this season began. Finale of the homestand coming up. Leak against Dempster. State Farm, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By Ford F-Series trucks, the best-selling trucks, 33 straight years. By Just for Men for mustache and beard, keep your edge. And by Skyline Chili. You know it's Skyline time when you get that craving for a Skyline 3-way or cheese conies. Reds have taken the field today for the finale of this homestand. Their last road trip, they went 4-2 through Houston and St. Louis, and a win today would make it 4-2 on the homestand against the Mets and the Cubs. Lou Piniella starting lineup today as Ryan Theriot leading off at second, Kosuke Fukudome in right, Derek Lee at first, Marlon Byrd the cleanup hitter in center, Ramos Ramirez at third, Tyler Colvin the nod in left field batting sixth, Starlin Castro bats seventh, Coy Hill the catcher eighth, Ryan Dempster on the mound batting ninth. Mike Leake making his 6th major league start, a 2-0 record, an ERA of under 3.
Well, he's already pitched against the Cubs one time before. He's got a deceptive fastball and moves all over the place, mainly down, and he stays down in the zone. You just wonder, though, second time against the same team in the same year, it does get tougher. I can tell you from personal experience, you've got to execute your pitches. Doesn't mean he can't do it and be just as good. He just has to make sure that he finishes his pitches and keeps them down where he needs them to be.
So a strike on the first pitch to get us underway, and then a ball away to Theriot, 338 batter with 12 runs batted in. Well, not only is this the second time against the Cubs, you may remember the very first time Mike Leake faced him was on a Sunday afternoon in the rubber game of a series. And that was not only his major league debut, but his professional debut for the 22-year-old native of San Diego. Went 6 2/3, allowed 4 hits and 1 run. There's a roller back to the mound, and Leake will handle that. Theriot taken care of, 1 away. You may remember in that game, he fanned 5, he walked 7, and Chris, I think, you and I were here that day, and I think we both felt like, really, with any sort of, I don't know, leeway in the strike zone, that Leake's walk total that day should have been more like 2 or 3.
Well, it's not really an unwritten rule, and sometimes it does and does not happen. But, I think he was being tested a little bit. A lot of youngsters are being tested by umpires. They want to know what kind of composure you have. So, it's like the Hall of Fame strike zone. Those guys get bigger strike zones after about 10 or 15 years in the big leagues than a guy who's just making his first start. And he didn't have any reaction to the umpires when those marginal pitches went against him. And little by little, that strike zone is getting back to normal and is getting bigger for Mike Leake. And we've seen in this series, this particular umpire crew calling a lot of strikes. Last night, when Aaron Harang was on the corner, he was getting those corners, and that's the way it ought to be.
On major league debut for Leake, it was Kerwin Danley calling the balls and strikes.
I mean, you walked 7 your first outing. He walked 5 in his next outing. But after that, his last 2 starts, he pitched 7 innings against the Dodgers, walked 1. Pitched 7 innings against the Houston Astros, walked 1. Walked 1 in 6 innings against the Mets. So he's back to where he ought to be control-wise.
Breaking ball in the inside corner, and it's 2-2 on Kosuke Fukudome.
Yeah, I've said it before, and I'll say it one more time, probably 1,000 more times. Hitters will tell you how well they see the ball, and I don't see these guys reacting all that well to Leake's pitches. That doesn't mean he's not going to give up home runs or give up hits, but you see certain batters, when they react, they just react slow. They just don't see the ball coming out of his hand, and deception is one thing that in pitching you cannot teach.
We learned so much about this young man in spring training, but even more the very first inning of his professional career against these Cubs when he walked Theriot to lead off the game. Fukudome sent him to third with a double. He walked Derek Lee, and there's a strikeout of Fukudome. And, of course, after having the bases loaded, the Cubs did not score in that opening inning against Lee. First 2 gone. The Reds on defense presented by Ford. It'll be Gomes, Stubbs, and Bruce, left, center, and right. Cabrera and Phillips up the middle. Scott Rowland, Joey Votto at third and first with a battery of Leake and Ramon Hernandez. 2 away for Derek Lee, and he's down a strike. Lee, a .217 batter, 4 home runs and 15 runs batted in. Swung the bat very, very well against the Reds and not very well against everybody else, as his season numbers would indicate, both against Cincinnati pitching and his overall numbers on the year. One and two.
Well, anytime you get a guy like Derek Lee who's way down in his numbers so far this season, and his career numbers are 120 points higher or so, you know that somebody's going to pay along the line. You just hope he gets out of town before he gets hot.
Breaking ball away, and it's 2-2 to Derek Lee with 2 down and nobody on. Just underway, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday afternoon. That one swung on and fouled out of play. Reds hit the road after the game today, only for a 3-game trip to Pittsburgh, where they were swept in a 3-game series their first time in this year. And they're right back home next weekend. Cardinals in for 3, Milwaukee in for 2, and there's strike 3 called, and what an opening inning for Mike Leake. Retires his side in order with a couple of strikeouts, and the Reds are coming up. against breast cancer. Starting lineup for Dusty Baker. Orlando Cabrera again at short. Brandon Phillips at second. Joey Votto at first. Scott Rowland, Jay Bruce, Johnny Gomes in the middle. Drew Stubbs, Ramon Hernandez, Mike Leake, the latter third. Against a one-time Red right-hander Ryan Dempster, a two-time National League All-Star.
Well, there's a couple of guys in his Reds lineup that he really likes to face, and that would be Phillips and Joey Votto, 133 and 125 respectively. He hates to face the leadoff hitter, 382, and Cabrera's had a lot of at-bats against him. Ramon Hernandez has had his good stuff against him as well. But what Ryan Dempster brings is a lot of experience. He knows what he's doing out there. He's not one of these maximum effort pitchers anymore. He used to be. But he's come up with a nice little changeup pitch that has been very, very good to him as far as getting hitters off his fastball. And the other thing he's done over the last few years is you'll see a really weird little flip of his glove action. He takes the ball in his glove, he's ready to go, and then when he starts his delivery, he starts flipping his glove back and forth. And that may be a little bit distracting to the hitter. Certainly you can't pick up the pitches like maybe you would have previous.
Dempster, 33 years old, makes his 7th start of the year, his 4th away from Wrigley Field. There's that little flick of the glove as he goes into his windup. Of course, he was a Cubs closer for 3 years, from 2005 through 2007. And he is one of only 2 active pitchers to have made at least 150 or more starts, while recording at least 85 or more career saves. The other, Atlanta's Derek Lowe. 2-2 to Cabrera. Served into short right field, and it's a foul ball. Third straight game Orlando Cabrera has hit in the leadoff spot, and so far, Chris, very, very good. He had 2 hits in the opening game of the series. And then last night he had 2 more hits, was on base 3 times, stole a base, and most importantly scored 3 runs.
Shaking up the lineup has worked for Dusty Baker. It took him a while before he finally decided he had to make that move. I mean, Drew Stubbs really went into a tailspin, but Cabrera was the most obvious choice for leadoff, and he's responded very nicely.
And in the very first at-bat of the game against Dempster, Cabrera is making the right-hander work. Already a 7-pitch at-bat for Cabrera. Here comes pitch number 8. And it's just a little bit high. Dempster thought that was strike 3, and Sam Holbrook says nope. Mike Winters at first, Brian Runge at second, the crew chief Jerry Lane down at third. So the payoff pitch coming to Orlando Cabrera, and he strikes out on a pitch down and away. A couple of changes for the Cubs defensively in the finale of this series, brought to you by Ford. One of them is Tyler Colvin in left field, Bird again in center, and Fukudome in right. Same infield we've seen throughout the series, and the other change behind the plate, where Coy Hill will do the catching in place of Giovanni Soto. Brandon Phillips coming in off an outstanding game, both at the plate and in the field. Takes a pitch outside for ball 1. They appeal. He did not go around. Brandon, 3 hits, was on base 4 times, had 2 doubles, a single, stole a base, scored 3, and was dynamite with a glove. See, over the last 10 games, Phillips hitting nearly 370. And that's where primarily he has been in that number 2 hole. Primarily.
Well, he goes back to the number 4 spot when Scott Rowland needs a day off. But I think until further notice, Dusty Baker likes the way this lineup flows better than he did earlier. Obviously, you scored 14 runs last night. It makes you a little affirmative in your decision.
Phillips taking all the way on 3-0, and there's a strike, 3-1. Well, the first 2 games of this series against a very good Cub pitching team. Reds have scored 21 runs and banged out 31 base hits. Down the right field line towards the corner, and that is a foul ball. The 0-2 now to Brandon Phillips. 1 out, nobody on. Already the 15th pitch in this inning. And it's ball 4, so Phillips some more. How about the running game, Chris Welsh, against Ryan Dempster?
Well, Ryan Dempster's got a pretty compact move to home, and that's one thing that he's able to do. He's a complete type pitcher. He lands in a good position, fields his position well, he holds runners well. Coy Hill's a pretty good catch-throw guy, so we'll see what happens here. I'm not so sure that this is a great running situation, not with Joey Votto at first, but coming up right now. But, you know, you're trying to get as many runs early as you can. Try to break through with a crooked number.
Joey Votto rolls in on the heels of a 7-game hitting streak. He has 12 hits in his last 27 at-bats. It's a .444 average with a couple of home runs and 5 batted in. Fly ball left field here. And Colvin at the track for out number 2. Bring Scott Rowland to the plate. 6 home runs, 13 knocked in, carries a .261 average. One on, 2 outs, no score, bottom of the first inning. Brandon got his 3rd stolen base of the year in 6 attempts here last night. Strike 1 to Scott Rowland.
Boy, picking away at that outside corner, a lot like Aaron Harang last night. You know, if you're a right-hander and you can control that outside corner down there, down and away, you're going to win some ball games.
Foul tipped into the mitt of Coy Hill. And that'll end the Reds first. Dempster with a couple of strikeouts, scoreless at the end of 1. Serious injuries, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Well, the Reds starting pitchers going back to the 26th of April, they have a 5-2 record. Of course, before then, not a starter had a win. An ERA of 3.9. They have been very, very good. And you factor in that 3.9, that includes Homer Bailey on Friday, who allowed 7 earned runs in 4 innings. So they've been even a lot better than those numbers would indicate. Mike Leake got a 1-2-3 first. So now it's Marlon Byrd to begin things in the second, followed by Aramis Ramirez and Tyler Colvin. Bird has been very impressive in this series, and what a year he's having. At 350, 6 home runs, Chris, and a team high 22 batted in.
I'll tell you what, he's a gamer, though. He goes out and he prepares himself before a ball game. He works hard. He's always hustling, and I can see why he was on that most wanted list for the Cubs. They wanted to get a guy in here that could hit a little bit, handle some defense in the outfield, and with that, they brought him along with his hitting coach, Rudy Jaramillo.
Line into right, Jay Bruce standing there for out number 1. All right, in honor of Mother's Day today, among many things, our Meyer text poll question. Moms, who would you like to see hit a home run for you on your day, Mother's Day today? Joey Votto, Scott Rowland, Brandon Phillips, Johnny Gomes, Jay Bruce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Text your answer to 37664. Standard texting rates apply. We can't include everybody, but we gave you a choice of 5 among that quintet.
How about why only 1? I mean, wouldn't it be merrier if 3 of these guys hit home runs?
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. But it's an interesting question. If you were a mom, who would you pick?
I don't know. How about you?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know many things in this world. Very little, in fact. As Ramirez has gone on strikes. But one thing I do know, I will never be a mom.
I think Joey Votto. I'm with the majority of moms out there. Now remember, only moms text in there now. We've got a way to find out.
I'm saying it'll be neck and neck between Votto and Bruce before all is said and done.
What's the name of that little gizmo we have to determine who's doing the texting? What her motherly status really is?
I have no idea.
So we're filtering out the imposters right now.
I know they have a device that can track that kind of thing. So if you're trying to sneak in there, forget about it. Phillips backhands and back-to-back 1, 2, 3 innings for Mike Lee. Reds come to bat in the bottom of the second in a scoreless game. Toyota signs today Shannon Bosley of Lakeside Park, Kentucky, will win the beautiful new Tundra on display here at Great American Ballpark. If you would like your chance to win that Tundra, you can register at an upcoming game and for an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Jay Bruce to lead it off in the Reds' second inning against Ryan Dempster. No score so far in this a decisive game of this 3-game series. Cubs won the opener 14-7. Reds came back to win last night 14-2. 2-1 to Jay. Bruce 3 for 15 on the homestand with a pair of RBIs. Borderline strike there, and Dempster got the call to even the count at 2 balls, 2 strikes.
You know, these two pitchers very similar. If you're watching the radar gun, you'll see different speeds on every pitch. Neither of them max effort guys. They're just trying to hit their spots.
Ripped into right field. This should be extra bases for Jay Bruce, and it will be. Into second with a leadoff double. That ball smoked by Bruce.
Well, that's a good at bat right there because Jay Bruce did not chase any of the good pitcher's pitches that Dempster threw him. Once Dempster got behind the count, went 2-0 and threw him a couple of changeups. Tried to come inside with a fastball, and Jay Bruce able to level that bat on it.
Well, there's one guy on this Reds team you want coming to the plate with runners in scoring position. It's got to be this guy, Johnny Gomes. And the numbers simply do not lie. A .474 batter with runners in scoring position with 16 runs batted in. He takes high, ball 1. Gomes a couple of huge base hits in the game last night. RBI single in the 3rd, and that bases loaded 2-run single in the 7th inning. When the Reds stretched their lead from 3-2 at the time to 5-2. Of course, later in that very same inning, when Gomes was at second and Drew Stubbs was a batter with a runner at third as well, on an infield hit, Johnny Gomes scored all the way from second base. And he was fired up. 2-1 to Johnny Gomes. Hitting for Mama Gomes today. Gotta like that. Into deep left center field. Mama Gomes. Mama Gomes. This is going to knock in a run for Mama Gomes on a double by Johnny. And the Reds lead 1-0. How about the big fella?
Well, when he's hot, he is hot, and he is scalding right now. His last 3 ball games hitting over 600. Last 4 games now over 600. Gets a breaking ball that just doesn't get down enough. And boy, he stays on it and lashes that ball deep over the left fielder's head. Mama Gomes happy with that swing.
Now the Reds looking for more. Drew Stubbs a batter with Gomes at second, and here goes Gomes, and they never expected it to happen, and how about that? Aramis Ramirez was drawn in thinking maybe Stubbs was going to put down a bunt, and you got to give Gomes a lot of credit for awareness out on the bases.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's not a pre-designed play, that they may have talked about that. And Drew Stubbs fakes the bunt, you bring the third baseman in, and then you pull it back. So you sacrifice a strike to get a runner to third base. I would suspect that that was a plan that they looked at, planned, and executed perfectly.
And this will bring in another run. This might be a hit. Throw to first, and just in time to get the speedy Stubbs, but it's good enough for an RBI. And the Reds lead 2-0. That is good baseball right there for the Reds. Back-to-back doubles by Bruce and Gomes, producing the first run. Johnny with a stolen base, and then Stubbs gets him in with a ground out. And here's Ramon Hernandez batting with 1 out, 2 in. Count away 0-2. Reds are hoping Ramon has started to turn the corner. Over his last 3 games, 4 hits and 13 at bats. I mean, you got to start somewhere. And well, Hernandez obviously not hitting through the season's first month as many would expect, but hoping the month of May will be a far kinder one. Here's the 1-2 to Hernandez, and it's up and in. Dribbles into right field, a base hit. So now you make it 5 of his last 14 for Ramon Hernandez. Well, we invite you to visit the official online shop of the Cincinnati Reds at Reds.com. You can get your gear straight from the source. Shop the Reds.com official store today. Now Mike Leake, he has 1 sacrifice. He also has 4 hits and 11 at bats. This guy does everything right. And then the throw in the dirt gets a lift down the right field line. On his way to third is Hernandez. They're going to hold him there as the Cubs misplayed that terribly. Miscommunication between Lee and Dempster. And then the poor throw.
That looked like a Keystone Cops and Chinese fire drill right here. Everything combined at one time. Derek Lee roadblocks his pitcher. Ryan Dempster tries to throw it a little bit off balance right there. He one-hops the second baseman, and the ball goes all the way down the right field line, and they're running around like a pinball machine.
Now you have a chance to do some major damage against Lou Piniella's Cubs in this second inning.
Well, you're exactly right about that. 2 runs is nice. You can plate these 2 runs that are out there, and you give yourself a 4-run lead. That's a nice start.
Lou Piniella will bring his infield in. Ramirez, Castro, Terrio, and Lee. The runner Hernandez at third, Leak on at second, give him a sacrifice, and then a throwing error by Dempster. And this is not going to bring in a run. Cabrera chased a pitch up and pops it up. Now you need a hit. Talking about runners in scoring position and how good Johnny Gomes has been. Brandon Phillips, overall his numbers at 269, but it should be noted, with runners in scoring position and 2 men out, as there are right now, Phillips has been a .385 batter. 5 hits and 13 at bats. Looking for a 2-out hit right here and right now, and he's fooled on the first pitch, strike 1. Brandon walked in the first. Hernandez leads at third, likewise for Mike Leake at second base. And a fastball is on the outside corner, and Dempster ahead of Brandon Phillips at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Those are the numbers we referred to a moment ago. Very good. Like it went around, they appeal, and yes, says Mike Winters. But the Reds get a couple of runs, and at the end of 2, lead the Cubs 2-0. The key is just to be aggressive, period. Before the game, I said, hey, man, we need you big time. And, boy, he came through great. Third straight solid start from Aaron Harang, getting the win here last night, pitching into the 7th. And, by the way, a happy birthday to Aaron Harang. Turning 32 today. Happy birthday, Aaron. Hope you have a great day.
What a way to celebrate it on Mother's Day with a win last night.
And really, as has been the case for Aaron Harang since the day he joined the Reds, I'm not sure everybody gives more back to the community than Aaron and his wife. They're hosting 30 fans out in the Sun Deck today as part of the program Aaron's Aces, targeting local military families. Guests get a game ticket, in-stadium welcomes on the PA and the scoreboard, get $10 each for a concession voucher. And today's guests are from Troop 2nd Squadron 107th Cavalry Regiment from Lebanon, Ohio.
Very nice.
One and two to Starlin Castro. Fastball runs inside and he fouls it off. Two to count on Castro. And rolled foul again. Castro, if you were with us on Friday night, knocked in more runs in his major league debut, 6, than any player in the history of the game in a big league debut. Became the 105th player in the history of the game to hit a home run in his first major league at bat. He had a 3-run homer and a 3-run triple. And there's strike 3.
Well, you can always tell by watching a hitter how well they see a ball coming out of a pitcher's hand. Starlin Castro would need a Votto to hit that bad boy. Look at that. I mean, that was way outside. Never really looked like a strike, but for some reason, coming out of League's hand, it gives the impression that it has a chance to be a strike, at least to a young hitter like Castro, who's quickly finding that the major league pitching is not quite as easy as he thought it was after the first night.
Coy Hill, the batter, down a strike, at 240 hitter. Hill has been a very dependable backup for the Cubs since joining them a couple of years ago, especially with a glove out on a ground ball to Joey Votto, and that's 8 in a row, retired by Mike Leake to begin the game. We can talk Reds baseball with the real McCoy. Log on right now to foxsportsohio.com during our game today for a live chat with Hall of Fame baseball writer Hal McCoy. He is standing by and waiting for you to log on and dial him up.
Got that laptop in turbo mode, ready to go.
Said last night he had so many people asking him questions that he was an hour behind trying to answer all the questions. And of course, not only is he doing that during the game, but he writes a story after the game. So he said he had apologized to everybody last night. By the time the game reached the 9th inning, swing and a miss, strike 3. That is 5 strikeouts for Mike Leake through the front 9 hitters of the day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Whether you're here at the ballpark or watching on the tube or somebody just tells you about it, we say Happy Mother's Day to all. Joey Votto, Scott Rowland, Jay Bruce in the Reds' third against Ryan Dempster. The Reds got 2 in the second inning, and that's where we stand, a 2-0 game. Votto flied out to left field, his only time up. Reds got a double by Jay Bruce leading off that last inning. Scored on a double by Gomes. Gomes stole third to the surprise of everybody, and then scored on the ground out by Cruz Stubbs. On the ground of Terrio. And Votto 0 for 2. Let's take a look at the National League Central Division standings presented by Honda. Cardinals lost last night in Pittsburgh. Reds won here, 3.5 back. Milwaukee pounded Arizona. And the Astros slipped at 9-21. And word on the street is that both Lance Berkman and Roy Oswalt are available if teams are interested in picking up general manager Ed Wade's number and dialing him up in a trade. Scott Rowland to the left of Ramirez. And quickly 2 are out here in the Reds' third. I would imagine Ed Wade will get a lot of phone calls about both those players. They're both making a pile of money, so you know the teams that probably would be able to make those phone calls are limited in number.
Well, you know, there are some pretty high-profile teams that are looking for starting pitching, namely the Los Angeles Dodgers. They've made no secret about the fact that they're sending their scouts just about everywhere looking for some starters, and I would believe they have some money to spend. So I would be on the phone talking to the Houston Astros about Roy Oswalt, definitely. I'm not so sure about the fit with Lance Berkman. I mean, he's a guy making a lot of money. He still has some left in the tank, obviously. Switch hitter with plenty of power. You know, but Drayton McClain, the owner of the Astros, has never been one to pack it in early and to give up. He has seen his team in the last decade have many runs in the second half of the year in which they are routinely the best team in the National League, if not all of baseball, in the second half for whatever reason. They make a managerial change, add a guy, get some couple back from the disabled list. So I would think there wouldn't be really great vote of confidence for Brad Mills, the new manager over there, if all of a sudden they start trading away their superstar players in the month of May.
3-1 to Jay Bruce, who had a double and scored the first run of the game. That was an inning ago. Went right down the middle on 3-1. Ryan Dempster has not had a perfect inning through the front 2. A chance to get one now. And that will not happen. His second walk issued. He's fanned 3, allowed the 2 runs on 3 hits. Here comes Johnny Gomes. An RBI double into left center field. Stole third, scored a base in the 2-run second inning. Gomes now the team leader with 19 runs batted in. On Johnny Gomes.
Ryan Dempster taking a little bit more time right here. Here's the way he sizes things up. He sees Mike Leake going through his order like a knife through butter, and he knows that if they get a couple more runs off him, it might be tough for the Cubs to get off their mat. And he gets behind to Johnny Gomes 2-0, doesn't want to make a mistake, takes that little cleansing walk around the mound to try to rid himself of negative vibes. Now he's 3-0. What looked like an easy 1-2-3 inning can turn into a tough one for him with a key base hit.
Well, the way Gomes is going right now, I'd not be surprised at all to see him get the green light 3-0. Yep, he's hacked out. I mean, when you're going like he's going, and Chris, you touched on it earlier, we know Johnny's a streaky hitter. But, man, when he's hot, look out.
Yep. Or if you could only bottle it, though.
You're not lying. Of course, that's one of the great mysteries of everybody who ever played, isn't it? 3-1 to Gomes. And fisted into left center field. Bird coming hard. Dives and got it. Marlon Bird, another nice play. Reds leave a man, and at the end of 3, the Reds are in front of the Cubs in this rubber game of the weekend. Great American Ballpark by JTM. Food, family, fun, JTM. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by GMC, we are professional grade. Well, everything's so green right now around Greater Cincinnati. There's a fly ball to right by Terrio. 1 pitch and 1 out for Mike Leake. We've had such a beautiful spring. We brought up earlier, Major League Baseball a number of years ago, going to bat and teaming up with Susan G. Komen for the cure to go to bat against breast cancer. And the goal is to raise awareness about breast cancer and early detection while also raising funds to support breast cancer research. And, of course, we do the same on Father's Day around baseball thanks to the Michael Milken Foundation for research against prostate cancer for the dads. 0-1 on Kosuke Fukudome. And so many of us, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you color, it doesn't matter what kind of money you have or don't have all been touched by breast cancer. Those we love, friends, neighbors. That pitch taken down low, 2 balls and a strike. Now to Fukudome, who struck out his first time up. Cubs without a base runner through the first 3 1/3 innings against Leake. And that changes with a 1-out walk to Fukudome in the 4th. And Leake very upset out on the mound. Now to take a look at our AT&T trivia question today. Rethink possible. Who are the only 3 managers in Cubs history to manage the National League All-Stars? Now, the question that I would have is this a trick question? And what I mean by that is, let's use Lou Piniella as an example. He is a current Cub manager who has managed a National League All-Star team. but was not the manager for the Cubs when it happened. All right, I'm being told it's as the manager of the Cubs. To another Derek Lee. I mean, heck, they have one of their broadcasters that's been a manager for the National League All-Star team. Our good buddy and Coshocton, Ohio's very own Bob Brenly, sitting in the booth next door. After winning the 01 World Series title with the Diamondbacks, managed the All-Star game the next year. That was the game that ended in a tie. There's one, and that's a double play to win the inning. So the one base runner of the afternoon wiped off on the very next pitch on a double play. Reds still lead 2-0. All right, time to answer our AT&T trivia question. The only three managers in Cubs history to manage a National League All-Star team. You have to go way back for two of them. Back when the Cubs were perennially in the postseason. Charlie Grimm in 36 and 46. Gabby Hartnett in 39. And Dusty Baker. A little bit tricky on that question, only because Dusty Baker, you may remember, in 2002 was manager of the Giants when they won the National League pennant. Lost in the World Series in 7 to the Angels. During the offseason, Dusty left San Francisco, went to Chicago, but from the prior year's work had earned title as skipper of the National League All-Star team. 1-2 on Drew Stubbs. Knocked in a run with Gomes at third and nobody out in the two-run second inning by placing a ball on the ground to the shortstop Castro. Castro barely threw him out on the play at first, but easily scoring was Gomes. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Reds. No runs, no hits for Chicago. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. Hit hard. Castro close in time.
Very fluid out there defensively is Starlene Castro. Had a good arm, too, boy. He set himself and threw out the quickest runner on the Reds ball club, knowing that he'd have to get rid of it quickly. You know, a lot of shortstops around this league now that they've seen Drew Stubbs get down the line so quickly, they cheat in a step or two just to make sure that they don't get beat bang, bang at first base.
One down for Ramon Hernandez, who singled into right field in the second inning, was stranded at third when it came to an end, and he looks at a strike. Well, this date in Reds history, you go back to 1973. How about Johnny Bench? He hit 3 home runs in a game off Steve Carlton, and it wasn't the first time he did it. The second time Bench hit 3 home runs in a game against Steve Carlton. Bench knocked in 7 runs in a 9-7 Reds win over Philadelphia. Man. Carlton, one of the game's all-time greats.
Well, you're going to hit that kind of a home runs in 2 separate games. You might as well do it against a guy who may have been one of the better left-handers of that generation. Wow.
2-2 on Ramon Hernandez. I had forgotten all about till I was driving home last night listening to Major League Baseball on XM radio, and reminded of a game that I had completely forgotten about that I saw a number of years ago. I saw 2 guys on one team hit 3 home runs in the same game. Jeremy Burnett and Richie Sexton, playing for the Milwaukee Brewers. Each hit 3 home runs in a single game. Swung on and fouled back out of play. You know, you were talking about you and George when you did the game up there at the Pilot House. And in that particular game, we were doing up at the restaurant out in left center field at what now is Chase Field. So, I mean, you know, you got a lot going on out there, and so different when you're broadcasting somewhere else than where we sit every night. The best seat in the house. Here's ball 4 to Hernandez. And that is the 3rd walk of the game given up by Dempster.
Well, he only walks an average of about 2 batters a game, but he knows very well that there are certain guys in his club that give him a hard time. Ramon Hernandez, one of them. With the base hit that he had his first time up, he's now 5 for 8 against Dempster lifetime. Dempster, you can see, pitching very carefully. Does not want to get his team down any more than it already is.
Leak again, scoring to bunt. He put one down up the first base line in the 2nd inning, and that was picked up by Dempster in a crowd. Standing in between his first baseman Lee, charging down the line, his catcher Hill going up the line. And Dempster threw the ball away down the right field line to put runners at 2nd and 3rd with only 1 out, but Dempster pitched out of the air. I don't know if that ball got Leak in the finger, but he's shaking that hand like it did. Boy, that's the last thing in the world you want to have happen now to this young man, as good as he's been.
I don't think it got the finger. I think it got very close to the finger right there. May have pinched it at the very end. Dusty Baker's going to go out just to make sure. Steve Ballman, Red's assistant trainer out there, he's assuring them that he's okay. But, you know, he held the bat the right way. We could take another look at that, how he held the bat. He doesn't wrap his fingers around the barrel of the bat. He holds it just the right way. Look, so you still have you have bat all the way down this line right here where his fingers are not exposed. And that's exactly the way you do it. Ball ran right in on him, though.
Up and away, 2 balls and a strike on Leak. I remember seeing a Cub game playing against the Dodgers many years ago. Remember the right-hander Kevin Gross, big, tall, strong guy, and scored around a bunt like that, broke his finger.
If you don't do it the right way, you really expose your pitching hand, unfortunately, because that's the one, if you're a right-handed hitter, right-handed pitcher, that you slide up the barrel.
Just another reason to teach the youngers to throw righty and hit lefty.
You're right about that. Of course, the only downside of that is that his pitching arm will be the arm closest to the pitcher.
Very well put.
So that's why you see cross-handed pitchers, meaning guys like Randy Johnson, who throw left-handed and bat right-handed. His left arm is the front facing the pitcher. He always used to wear a pretty good size protective armor on his elbow to make sure that if he did get hit on his arm, he'd protect that multi-million-dollar arm.
3-2 to Leak. And a slow roll to Castro. He'll flip to second. They get the out there. That'll be a fielder's choice with Hernandez wiped off the base pass, and they're 2 away in the inning. And Leak is such a good athlete. I mean, it really, and obviously he's only been around for a little better than a month, but everything they ask him to do, he does it, and does it well. You know, it's a routine ground ball right there. I understand that, but it's not a swing and a miss for a strikeout.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, you could ask him to do that if he wanted to play hit and run, and chances are he'd put the ball in play for you.
Just a ball player. Good athlete, ball player. Really nothing he does seems to be at full effort. Meaning he's not has to go 100% to try to throw a strike or get a guy out, or he doesn't swing the bat over swinging. Well, back to it again. It's just good scouting on the part of the Reds to have a feel for that young man. He doesn't fit the profile of a #1 draft pick, you know, 6'4", throwing 95 over the top. Just a guy that knows how to play ball.
Inning over on a strikeout of Cabrera. We've played 4, and the Reds lead the Cubs 2-0. Marlon Byrd, Aramis Ramirez, Tyler Colvin against Mike Leake here in the 5th inning. And we'll keep an eye on Leake here now. And the ball apparently did not hit one of his fingers, scoring around the butt in the bottom of the 4th inning. The trainer, the assistant trainer, Steve Bauman, did come out along with Dusty Baker. Well, let's keep an eye on Leake. He's not allowed to hit. He retired the first 10 batters of the game before a walk to Fukudome, but got Derek Lee on a ground ball double play, so he's faced the minimum through the front 4. Rolling, nice play, backing up, and then Votto picks it out of the dirt. Well, that's not an easy play for Scott Rowland.
You either charge it hard or back up, and Scott Rowland backs up, trusts his backhand, sets himself, and throws across the infield almost enough to get there. Kind of an easy scoop for Votto, but nonetheless needed to be picked out of the dirt. Good job at both ends there. I like that combo. Rowland to Votto.
Now Aramis Ramirez, he struck out his first time up. Ball 1 with a fastball away from him. Leake, who's not fallen behind hitters all afternoon, has fallen behind the first 2 batters here in the 5th, 2-0. And now going to work on Ramirez. Fouled away, 2 balls and a strike. Think back to a year ago at this time, they were still playing regular season baseball. Collegiately was Mike Leake at Arizona State University. There's a one-hopper fielded by Cabrera, and the throw is in plenty of time. Played it in backhanded fashion on the short hop.
Well, 2 ground balls to the left side, both of them nice defensive gems by the Reds. A short, tough hop right there. Cabrera fields it cleanly. So far, so good. Mike Leake sharing those nice plays around the infield. Maybe Brandon Phillips is next.
Phillips made a nice play on this batter his first time up. Back up through the middle. Backhanded pickup to throw out Tyler Colvin. Colvin, like Leake, a #1 draft pick. Colvin selected in the first round in 2006 by the Chicago Cubs. That is strike 2 called on the outside corner. Colvin came out of Clemson University, grew up in North Augusta, South Carolina. Struck him out swinging. 5 innings of no-hit, no-run baseball for Leake, who's fanned a career-high 6. Place to kick off your weekends, and it begins this coming Friday, our first Fireworks Friday of the year, May the 14th, presented by PNC. The spectacular post-game pyrotechnics after the Reds and Cardinals. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or go to reds.com. Can't wait for that to begin next weekend. Reds lead 2-0 over Dempster and the Cubs. Brandon Phillips to start things, followed by Joey Votto and then Scott Rowland. Brandon walked in the first, struck out, ending the second. High fly ball into right center field. An easy play for Marlon Byrd, and Phillips retired for the second time. 1 away in the 5th. Game's already underway. Philadelphia out in front of Atlanta 3-0. That game in the 3rd. Washington playing surprisingly good baseball. A 1-0 lead over the Marlins early on in the 2nd. The Giants in front of the Mets in the 3rd, 2-0. And the Cardinals, a 1-0 lead over the Pirates in the 3rd. San Diego and Houston just underway in the 1st inning. Later, Milwaukee goes for the weekend sweep over Arizona. And Colorado will send out Ubaldo Jimenez. A 6-0 record will pitch today against Clayton Kershaw at Dodger Stadium. Joey Votto 0 for 2 and down in the count 0 2. Fly to left and bounce to second base. And he has gone on 3 pitches, and for Ryan Dempster, that's his 5th strikeout of the afternoon. Again, a reminder, Hal McCoy standing by right now at foxsportsohio.com, and after the game you get a complete recap by going to foxsportsohio.com, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. You can chat live right now with Hal McCoy. Red's got a pair of runs in the second inning. If you're just joining us, got a leadoff double by Jay Bruce. He scored on a double by Johnny Gomes. Gomes stole third without a throw, and then would score on a ground out by Drew Stubbs. Scott Rowland 0 for 2, struck out in the first inning, and then grounded out to his counterpart in the third. Hit hard, but wide at Terrio, and it's a 1-2-3 5th for Ryan Dempster. So we move ahead to the 6th inning at Great American Ballpark. The Reds still in front by a pair.
Comes, and I am standing here with a very important woman here. This is Jennifer Sweeney, and Jennifer won a huge contest with Major League Baseball. She was the Reds' honorary Batgirl today. And tell us a little bit about what you had to do to win that contest.
Well, I had to write an essay, and in the essay I had to mention how my family and I go to bat against breast cancer, and just raising awareness for breast cancer and funds to be for raising money for finding a cure.
And you're here with your husband, Keith, and your 2 boys, Connor and Carson, who are 11 and 9, and you have a team together. You guys have raised over $12,000 for the Susan G. Komen research, haven't you?
Most specifically, we're Team Supergirl, and every year the family does fundraising as part of our family tradition.
Well, a close play there at first base, and I think this is amazing. Tom and Chris, you actually went on a trip to the Louisville Slugger Museum in Louisville, right? And you bought a pink bat. Tell us that quick story.
It was so much fun. We went for a tour, and at the end of the gift shop, they had a pink bat, and I said to my husband, I have to have that bat. And we hung it in our recreation room, which has a baseball theme, and I did not realize it, of course, at the time, but I was diagnosed 2 months after that. So that bat's very special to me, and I looked at it to get me through treatment, and it was just
inspiration.
It really was.
It's an amazing story, and you are how many years now?
2 years cancer-free.
Well, good luck to you, and have a great time at the game, Jennifer. Thank you very much. So Jennifer Sweeney, guys, a very special story, and this is the pink section up here. You saw all these people. They are breast cancer survivors, and they were the ones that had the parade before the game. Tom, Chris?
Jeff, thank you very much, and congratulations to all of those survivors. Very blessed folks. And Jennifer Sweeney, thanks for all that you're doing. Cubs got their first hit of the game, an infield single. And that bunt put down by Ryan Dempster will advance a runner on to second base. And they're 2 away in the inning. Well, the Gillette Civil Rights game is coming up next Saturday. The Reds and the Cardinals, May the 15th. Second year in a row Cincinnati's been honored with that game. First 20,000 fans in attendance get a Chuck Harmon 1954 replica mesh jersey. The Reds are going to wear those numbers for the game, courtesy of Duke Energy. Call 513-381 Reds or go to Reds.com. So the first hit of the game comes off the bat of Starlin Castro on an infield single. Castro stands at second here in the 6th inning with the Reds leading 2-0. It's ball 1 to Ryan Theriot. Almost wondered for a moment if they would consider scoring that an error on Joey Votto. I only bring that up, and I'm not endorsing they give Votto an error, but the first base umpire made it very clear that the throw, or maybe an error on Brandon Phillips, pulled Votto off the bag. I mean, it looked like had the throw been in an area where Votto stayed on the bag, that they would have had the runner out at first base. I only bring it up because it was the first hit of the game.
Right, and it will be talked about if it becomes the only hit of this ball game for the Cubs. Great play by Phillips to get to it. I mean, he catches, turns, and throws in an instant, and it takes Votto just a hair off the bag as he had to go up just off his tiptoes to get that ball and bring it back down, and by the time he did, Starlin Castro, who has very good speed, was able to get to first base.
And again, I mean, 99.9% of the time you'd say, don't even bring that up.
Right.
But the fact that it was a first hit.
Well, I don't think you judge it any differently because it's a first hit, because the official score has to be, completely on the board and even about all those, regardless of the tempo of the game.
Well, that's the only hit so far after the play by Cabrera. Reds lead 2-0. They come to bat in the bottom of the 6th inning against Ryan Dempster. Reds have 3 hits. The Cubs have 1. Bruce started the two-run rally when he led off the second inning with a double down the right field line and scored the game's first run. You know, Dempster's been down this road before. It's interesting sometimes you look at the 5 starts made by Dempster coming into the game. 6 starts, I beg your pardon. 4 of the 6, as that one's pulled foul. Dempster has allowed 1 run. And in those 4 games, he has 1 win. That was against Milwaukee. One of his other 2 starts, 8 innings, 3 runs. That was his last outing against Washington. He got beat. And in a game where he gave up 5 runs in 6 1/3, he got a win in that game. But in those 4 starts where he allowed just the 1 run, only 1 victory to show for it. Bruce fouls it away. Here's Dempster on this Sunday afternoon working on a 3-hitter. And he's trailing 2-0 in the 6th inning.
Well, you mentioned already, Tom, early in the broadcast that he's been a 2-time All-Star. His best year, really, win-loss record was with the Cubs back in 2008, just a couple of years ago, where he was 17 wins against only 6 losses, earned run average under 3. He completely dominated that year.
Straight away center field, and there's room out there for Bird, and that's out number 1 here in the 6th.
What really made the difference for Ryan Dempster was the second year he went over with the Cubs. He came up with a new pitch, and if you watch him as he sets the ball in his hand before he makes every delivery, he splits his fingers, sticks it in there like a splitter or a forkball, kind of a modified forkball. But he's been able to develop that pitch to the point where he uses it just as anybody would a changeup. The difference, though, the way Dempster throws it is that he throws it for strikes. Most splitters are best when they're down at the knees and then break out of the strike zone. He can throw his for a called strike.
Johnny Gomes 1 for 2 in the game, had an RBI double off the left center field wall in the second inning. Stole third, his first stolen base of the year. And it scored on the ground out by Bruce Tubbs. 1 ball and 1 strike to Johnny Gomes. Mentioned Gomes with a team best 19 runs batted in. Got tied up and in and clearly went around there, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Love the way Johnny, you know, takes time between pitches. Doesn't take too much time, but boy, he pulls that helmet down on his head like he's Evel Knievel ready to go over the Grand Canyon. Making sure that baby's on there.
Dropping an Evel Knievel in the Grand Canyon in the broadcast today. Gomes gone on strikes.
Hey, Reds fans, check out this year's Rookie of the Year, JTM's new 32-count microwavable burgers. Look for them today in their new yellow bag, JTM Food Family Fun.
So 2 away in the inning. That'll bring up Bruce Tubbs. A pair of ground outs for Stubbs to the shortstop. One of them knocked in a run in the 2-run second inning. Dempster has been so impressive here today. Maybe not the command he generally has, at least early in the game. We talked about how good his control is. Had 3 walks in the first 3+ innings. But now 6 strikeouts. The next pitch will be his 100th of the game. And he's only allowed the 3 hits and 2 runs. But Mike Leake has been better. Has allowed 1 infield hit and thrown 32 in a moment fewer pitches. Gone swinging is Stubbs, and that's 7 of them for Dempster. We move to inning number 7. The Reds still in front of the Cubs, 2-0. Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com. And by Granger, with over 900,000 products for the ones who get it done. Fountain Square in downtown Cincinnati on a beautiful Mother's Day Sunday afternoon. A little on the cool side, but lots of sunshine. And happy Mother's Day to all out there today. The Reds lead 2-0 as the Cubs come to bat against Mike Leake in the 7th inning. And he'll go right through the teeth of the batting order. It's a very big inning for Leake. Nursing the 2-0 lead, he's allowed just one hit. That was a leadoff infield hit by Castro in the 6th. Leake has walked 1, struck out 6. It'll be Fukudome, Lee, and then Marlon Byrd against Mike Leake in the Chicago 7th. Routine ground ball down on one knee to make sure is Phillips. One away. The Reds on their last homestand, you may remember, went 3-3. They had beaten the Dodgers 2 out of 3 to start it, but then lost 2 out of 3. Had to win the final game of the San Diego series to get out of that set with 1 win. Went on the road. They swept Houston, picked up a win in 3 games in St. Louis to go 4-2 on the trip. And after starting this homestand, beating the Mets 2 out of 3. They're trying to win back-to-back games over the Cubs to finish this 6-gamer with a like 4-2 record. Votto high in the air to get it. Not hit very hard by Lee, but a leaping grab by the Reds' first baseman for the 2nd out of the inning.
Well, everybody in the infield now has had a hand in turning on a fine defensive play in support of Mike Lee. A leaping grab right there by Joey Votto.
So now Marlon Byrd with 2 away and nobody on. Check swing, and that's a strike on the outside corner. Byrd, one of the few Cubs to make any decent contact against Leake today. Lined out hard to Jay Bruce in the 2nd inning. Then hit a sharp 2-hopper that Rolen made a nice play to throw him out in the 5th. 1-2 to count on Marlon Byrd. 2 down, nobody on in the Cubs' 7th inning. Leake working on a 1-hitter. In the air, right center field. Hit pretty hard, and that will find a gap. We talked about Byrd with good swings today against Leake. That's his first hit in 3 at-bats, and now Ramirez in his 2-0 game represents the tying run.
Well, it gets the official scores off the hot sheet if nothing else. That ball is a breaking ball going away from Marlon Byrd. He does have a good swing, good flat swing, stays with it. You see him not pulling off the ball too much. This guy's a very good hitter.
Leake looking back to second base. Orlando Cabrera and Brandon Phillips back there having a few words with Marlon Byrd, and Leake looking back there saying, let's go. And right back to work is Leake, missing ball 1 to Aramis Ramirez. It's always a danger in a 2-0 ball game, even when you have overwhelmed the opposition. That old adage about a bloop and a blast, and all of a sudden it's a 2-2 affair. One and 2 on Aramis Ramirez.
They're trying to stay away from Ramirez. There's no doubt about it. He's a really good bad ball hitter, meaning a cripple hitter. Hanging breaking balls, fastballs down the middle. But if you hit your spots, you're going to have your success against them.
One and 2 on Aramis Ramirez. Leake comes inside. Wanted that fastball on the inside corner and just missed it.
Well, you got to love it the way he's able to hit both sides of the plate. He's got a fastball that runs in, a cutter that runs away, breaking ball that he changes speeds on, and all of it at less than 100% effort. Just kind of grooving it out there.
Roller up the third baseline. It'll stay a fair ball, and that's an infield hit for Aramis Ramirez.
Sometimes your stuff is so good they don't hit it hard enough, and that's the case right here with Aramis Ramirez, right off the end of the bat, barely making contact, but it stays fair for him.
Leake retired the first 2 batters in this inning, Fukudome and Lee, before Byrd doubled to right center. Now the infield hit from Ramirez. The tying run aboard, the go-ahead run at the plate, and it's Tyler Colvin. Colvin has grounded to second and struck out. That one's in the dirt, and a throw to the plate, and the runner is safe. Leake got the glove down, but it was just above the plate, and Marlon Byrd slides in there with the Cubs' first run of the game. That'll be a wild pitch charge to Mike Leake. The lead is cut in half, and now the tying run is in scoring position.
Now, it looked like Ramon kind of tried to backhand that ball to get it clean, and the ball just bounced off his glove, got away from him, and a heads-up Marlon Byrd gets the first run in for the Cubs.
And now Leake behind Colvin at 2 balls and no strikes. And that one hammered down the line, and it is gone. Bang, bang, bang. Double infield hit, home run, and just like that, the Cubs have taken a 3-2 lead here in the 7th inning. Wow.
Well, Tyler Colvin, who did not look good at all in his last at bat, he went down on 3 pitches with a slider. That time he hits a sinker going away from him, maybe a little bit of a changeup. Looks like Leake took something off that pitch and elevated it just enough, knee high or about an inch above, and Colvin hooks it out of here. So for the Cubs, who have been able to do nothing against Leake all game long, finally strike here in the 7th.
It is amazing how quickly a game can turn when they're played close to the vest. First batter in the inning, routine ground ball to second. The Cubs had one hit through 6 2/3 innings, and now 3 straight hitters with hits. A double by Bird, an infield hit by Ramirez, the home run by Colvin. And now the Reds forced to play catch-up for the first time in the game. And Ryan Dempster, remember, is still in the game. And there's no activity in the Chicago bullpen. Dempster just a little more than 100 pitches thrown on the afternoon, and has only given up 3 hits, and all 3 came in 1 inning in the 2-run second. One hopper to Cabrera, and that's that. But all of a sudden the Cubs strike quickly. 3 runs in the 7th to take a 3-2 lead, and we'll keep it right here for the singing of God Bless America.
Major
time Wednesday, May the 26th. Imes Bark in the Park is back at Great American Ballpark. Come early for the dog parade. Check out the fan zone for product samples and special dog activities. Get more information on how you and your dog can be a part of the first of 2 Reds Bark in the Park events this year. Visit Reds.com/Dog Day, and folks at SPCA Cincinnati, headed up by Harold Dates, will be a big part of that as well. Tyler Colvin A 2-run home run to give Chicago its first lead of the game. So now the Reds come to bat in the bottom of the 7th inning, trailing. 8, 9, and 1 in the batting order. Ball 1 to Ramon Hernandez.
Always interesting to see how the opposing pitcher will respond to that. I mean, he was keeping him in the ball game. Dempster was just hoping he'd get some offense. Now that he's got some, we'll see what he does. He was a guy originally signed by the Florida Marlins. Was in Cincinnati from 2002 and 2003. Struggled through a 2003 season where he was injured. He had a neck injury. He had an elbow injury. Eventually, he had Tommy John surgery later in the year, around August the 4th. And after the season was over, the Reds made him available, and the Cubs picked him up for $500,000.
That ball tagged by Ramon Hernandez down the line, and it's up against the wall and ricochets toward the line, which will enable for sure a double by Hernandez. And now Dusty Baker with a decision to make. Does he send Mike Leake up there to bunt, or does he bring in a pinch hitter? And apparently he will send up Leake to bunt.
Well, Hernandez is a very good high ball hitter, and in this inning already, it seems that when Dempster's missed, even though this is the first batter, he's missed up. You can't miss up there to Hernandez. He tomahawks that ball off the left field wall. Would they try the same play here with Hernandez on second base as they tried earlier with Johnny Gomes, where a fake bunt, that time by Drew Stubbs, pulled the bunt back, brought the third baseman in, and the runner stole third, no problem.
Ramos Ramirez going to guard against that. He took a peek down, and the bunt is to third. The throw there, and the runner is out. Played very aggressively there by the catcher, Coy Hill. I mean, he popped right up. Not a good bunt by Leake. And when you have a runner that's a catcher out there at second base, it's almost got to be a perfect bunt to advance it.
Well, you cannot bunt it too hard down the third base line, because that way the third baseman will field it and you make sure there's nobody there to cover the bag. If you bunt it too soft, you let anybody else field it. Maybe the pitcher, maybe the catcher, as Coy Hill did right there. And he knew, you know who's running, you know the timing of the play. Solid play by Hill.
Well, it's a huge out at third base for Chicago after the leadoff double to get some momentum back by Hernandez. Strike one to Orlando Cabrera, hitless in 3 at-bats today. He struck out twice and popped up to Terrio.
So the Cubs signed Dempster for $500,000, knowing he wouldn't maybe even not even pitch at all during the 2004 season. As it came around, he was able to pitch just about a year removed from Tommy John surgery in August. In 2005, he went into the bullpen, pitched in 63 games, was a closer in 2005, 6, and 7. Then he ran him out as a starter in 2008 and went out, won 17 games. So you talk about a very nice signing for the part of the Cubs. Did not spend a lot of money to get him.
And there's a base hit into right field. Mike Leake will stop at second base as Fukudome gets to it quickly in right.
Well, another ball up, and both of the high ball hitters in this lineup have hit it in this inning. Ramon Hernandez off the left field wall. Orlando Cabrera likes the ball around chin high, and he drives it to right.
The Reds do have activity in their bullpen. They have Mike Lincoln throwing, and now with Leake, the runner at second base, he will be taken down for a pinch runner, Chris Heisey. So an outstanding start today by Leake. And the Cubs finally got to him with 2 outs and nobody on in the 7th. A double, an infield hit, then the home run to take the lead. But again, Mike Leake, just another excellent start. 7 innings, allows 4 hits, 3 runs, all earned. Leake walked only 1 while fanning 6. And Leake still with a chance to be a winner in this game. If the Reds can come back, take the lead, and nail it down, but first things first, they're down one, just trying to tie. And Brandon Phillips will settle in. He's walked, struck out, flied out to center field. Strike one on the outside corner to Brandon.
They've been pecking away that outside corner all day long on Brandon.
The Cubs have left-hander Sean Marshall throwing in their bullpen. And probably safe to assume that Marshall is getting ready for the on-deck hitter. Although Dempster has really had his way with Votto in 3 at-bats today. Little roller. And Lee will throw to second. They get the out there. And there are 2 gone in the inning with a tying run. Heisey advancing on to third. So now what does Lou Piniella do? Sort of. Well, he had turned. Had a conversation with Alan Trammell, and turns around again. And we'll see what Lou Piniella wants to do. It will be a deliberate walk out to the mound, that we know. See, it is a tough call right here.
Well, it is a tough call because Joey Votto has struggled in his career against Ryan Dempster. Dempster knows that. In fact, Lou knows that. He looked it up. There's what you see right here. This is updated for today. In his career, only 2 for 12 against Ryan Dempster, but one of the hits was a homer. He's just going to check on his right-handed starter and then sprint on back to the dugout.
Well, that didn't last long at all. I'm not even sure that Dempster had anything to say. It was almost like Piniella went out there and said, let's go get him.
He's got to be winded.
Marshall joined now in the Cub bullpen by the right-hander, Carlos Zambrano.
I say we put a clock on Lou next time he makes his way to the mound. Like we used to for Lee Smith when he would come in out of the bullpen.
Or Todd Coffey when he came sprinting in. With a huge at-bat here in this game. Joey Votto 0 for 3. Fly to left in the first inning. Grounded out to Terrio at second in the third. And then struck out on 3 pitches his last time up in the 5th. Tying run at third. Lead run at first. High fly ball in the right center field. Joey Votto has done it. Joey Votto, a team high 7 home runs. And on the first pitch from Dempster, a 3-run bomb to right center. And the Reds have recaptured the lead. It's 5-3. Oh, what a big home run by Votto.
That guy can play the game.
Crowd wanting a curtain call from Joey Votto.
Well, it was a breaking ball down and in, right in his wheelhouse, and boy, did it sound good coming off his bat. A long bomb to right center field.
Mike Leake likes it. Votto does his curtain call for the crowd. RBIs 18, 19, and 20 for Votto to take the team lead in that category, along with his 7 home runs. Rolling a pop-up that'll drift into right center. Terrio's got it. But, boy, there are home runs, and then there are clutch home runs. And this one by Votto, just about as clutch as it gets for a Sunday in May.
PlayTheSeries.com.
So the Reds now in front again. Fell behind for, what, about 10 minutes after the 3-run home run by Colvin in the top of the 7th inning, and Votto answers with a 3-run home run. You know, Lou Piniella's going to be asked about it after the game, not bringing in the left-hander Marshall and, you know, leaving in Dempster. We gave you the numbers. Lou knows the numbers.
And Dempster's an experienced pitcher. I think you may go a different way if you're Lou Piniella and you have a rookie on the mound, or maybe a second-year player that doesn't have the experience that Ryan Dempster does. But, you know, it was not all that bad of a pitch. Down and in, a breaking ball, and he's owned Votto pretty much throughout his career. But of the 3 hits that Votto has against Dempster now, 2 of them long balls, none bigger than that one.
Nick Massett takes over on the mound for Mike Leake. Leake 7 innings, a 4-hit, 3-run baseball, now in line to get the win. Massett came on in the game last night for an inning, allowed a couple of hits. That's after the game was well out of reach, but no runs. Coy Hill to be followed, it looks like, by Mike Fontenot. And then back to the leadoff man in Ryan Theriot. And again, I mean, we saw how fast a 2-run lead can vanish. This is still only a 2-run ball game in the top of the 8th inning. It's where the Reds were just lights out a season ago. If they had the lead in the 7th, 8th, or 9th, it was pretty much phone it in. With the quartet of Cordero, Massett, Weathers, and Arthur Rhodes. And Weathers, of course, was traded to Milwaukee, and now Massett's job is that formerly held by David Weathers. And Massett trying to find consistency in that role, because the Reds need him to nail games just like this one down. 2-2 on Coy Hill.
Yeah, that's a hard splitter that Massett shook off a couple of signs from Hernandez to finally get to. We can sneak peek in his back of his glove there, and from our center field camera, and take a look at what he wants to throw. He'll set it up in his hand anyway. Looks like he wants to throw it again. But now he's got his fingers a little closer together. Something hard coming.
A 95-mile-per-hour fastball that Hill fouls off.
Plenty of arm speed for Massett. That's not the issue. Command of his fastball is big, because even 95 down the middle is hittable. But it's the secondary pitches that makes him so intriguing. Good curveball, nice slider, and a real good split finger. Got to come after him.
Pretty safe to say, when you look at the first 3 batters coming up in this inning, it would behoove Massett to come after each and every one of them. 3-2 the count. And Coy Hill hanging in there.
Now, there's no question about that. I mean, you know, pitchers don't look at the board and say, oh, this guy's hitting 220, so I'm really going to come after him. You know where you are in the order. But there are certain guys that you can afford to say, all right, here's my best fastball. I'm going to give it to you, and let's find out what's going on. Because you got a 2-run lead. Even a solo home run still leaves you with the lead right here. And you've got the 9th spot in the order coming up.
3-2 to count on Coy Hill. 9th pitch in this at bat, and it's hit off the end of the bat, foul. Hill 0 for 2 is bounced out to Joey Votto, and then fouled out to Scott Rowland in the 6th inning. Coy Hill, a guy who has never been known as a real good hitter at the major league level, but one thing he generally has been able to handle is a fastball, and it doesn't matter how hard you throw it. His weakness has clearly been anything with a wrinkle in it. But Massett's dilemma right now is, do you throw anything with a wrinkle in it on 3-2 with a 2-run lead? There's a fastball Hill is tardy on, but he survives for another pitch. So now pitch number 12 in this at bat. Massett against Coy Hill. Fastball grounded down to Votto, and he'll wave off Massett. So a 12-pitch at bat capped off by a 95-mile-per-hour fastball to retire the leadoff man. Well, enjoy Sundays at the ballpark with the entire family, including next Sunday, a week from today. The first 10,000 kids 14 and younger in attendance will receive a number 4 Brandon Phillips mesh jersey thanks to Chiquita. Great seats available for the entire Reds-Cardinals matchup beginning Friday night. 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/family. Mike Fontenot hit a pinch hit grand slam on Friday night in this series. Fontenot, a .315 batter. That was his first home run of the year. He's knocked in 10. Close the book on Ryan Dempster. 7 innings of 6 hit turns out to be 5-run baseball after allowing the 3-run home run by Joey Votto with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th inning to give the Reds his 5-3 advantage. And as was the case most of the day, all day, Leak just a little bit better on this day. And I'm sure they will meet again. And even though the final line won't show it, you know, Chris, we talked about Leak. This was the first time he has seen the same team twice in his very young professional career. I mean, look, the last time he only gave up the 1 run, but I think it's safe to say he was even better this game than he was the last time against Chicago. He just got hurt there on 3 straight hitters. His final inning and gone on strikes is Fontenot.
Pretty good stuff from Nick Massett. There's no question about it. Whether it's a slider or a fastball, that ball darting away from the left-handed hitter there. And 2 up and 2 down in the 8th for the hard-throwing right-hander. But you're right about Leak. I think because of his stuff, I didn't see the Cubs hitter zoning in on him today because they've seen him one other time. And I don't think it's a surprise attack on the part of Mike Leak of all of a sudden busting on the scene and, you know, they haven't seen him and that's why they haven't hit him. This guy's just a good pitcher. He does it with less than 100% effort. I think that's what I like the most about him. That and every one of his pitches stays down in the zone and moves. And you combine all the factors together, and this young man's going to be a pitcher and a good one for a long time.
1-1 to Ryan Theriot. This is the man clearly Massett wants to come after hard. You've got, you know, home run threats following Theriot in the Chicago batting order. Fukudome has 5. Then you get to the big fellas with Lee and Bird, Ramirez right on down the line. Massett trying to put away Theriot right here and right now on a 1-2 pitch with the Reds leading by 2 in the 8th inning. And he does. Ooh, that looked pretty good from up here. No argument by Hernandez. Maybe a little bit low right as it came to the plate. Theriot gave it a long look. Appeared to be just low. Yep. Still 2-2 to Theriot. Theriot has 3 hits in the series. And 2 of those came in a game last night, one of the infield variety. Generally, it seems like every time the Reds see him, he's on base. And he's on base again. On a 2-2 pitch, banged into center field. So now Fukudome will come to the plate. Arthur Rhodes is ready in the bullpen.
Well, this is the chess match that goes on here towards the late innings. If Fukudome comes to the plate, Dusty Baker has an option of going to the bullpen, bringing in Arthur Rhodes, or sticking with Nick Massett.
Of course, then you look at what Lou Piniella might do if you bring in Rhodes here.
Exactly.
They are loaded on that bench with dangerous right-handed hitters, starting with Alfonso Soriano to Giovanni Soto to Xavier Nady. Fukudome 0 for 6 in his career against Nick Massett.
Well, if you think Fukudome is looking for a home run ball to hit, that would be a pitch on the inner part of the plate, probably up. He's got 5 of them on the year, so he's got plenty of power. But I would imagine most all of his home runs have been to right field. That's where his juice is.
And Massett missed his spot right there. They were set up away.
Yeah, that's a dangerous pitch right there, because that's a little splitter that if you throw that to the wrong side of the plate, it hangs right in there to where the hitter just left. Fukudome kind of steps in the bucket a little bit. Staying down and away is a safe spot unless you come way inside. By a little bit of the outside corner with that one.
Two and one the count on Fukudome with Terrio at first. And there's strike 2, a fastball at 95, knee high outside edge.
Well, you miss with the splitter on a 2-2 count. Pretty much everybody in the ballpark figures what's coming here on a 3-2 count. He threw, what, 6 or 7 fastballs in a row to Coy Hill on a 3-2 count.
We had 2 on Fukudome, and Massett turns it loose. Runner goes, and that's strike 3 called, and Fukudome disagreed. 96-mile-per-hour fastball ends the 8th inning. Reds come to bat in the bottom of the 8th, maintaining a 2-run lead. aboard, 2 out, down a run in the bottom of the 7th inning. A 3-run home run to right center field. And right now, that's the difference in this game. Votto, the curtain call from the crowd at the ballpark. And now the Reds come to bat for what they hope will be the final time today in the last of the 8th inning with a 2-run lead. And James Russell, son of native Cincinnatian and longtime Major League pitcher Jeff Russell, takes over on the mound. Jay Bruce, 1 of 2 in the game, has doubled to right, scored a run, drawn a walk, and lined out to center field. One and one to Jay Bruce. Francisco Cordero cranks it up in the Reds bullpen. He'll be on to try and nail it down in the 9th. Johnny Gomes waits, and he'll be followed by Drew Stubbs. 3-2 to Bruce. And Jay is aboard for the 3rd time today.
I'll tell you, that's the one big difference in Jay Bruce between this year and previous seasons in the major leagues. Here's a willingness to take a walk. He's taken 2 now in this ball game. Has not struck out. It takes his walk total up to 15 against 26 strikeouts. There was a time there that he was really striking out way more than he ever walked, and he's beginning to narrow that gap.
Now Johnny Gomes, leadoff man aboard. Gomes an RBI double, stole a base, scored a run in the 2nd inning. And a hit taken away on a diving catch in short center by Marlon Byrd an inning later. And then struck out against Dempster in the 6th. To Gomes. Carlos Marmol, the Chicago closer, whom we've not seen in this entire series. That's when you know, you generally know anyway. I mean, it's not lead pipe cinch, but you generally know your chances of at least getting a couple of wins in a series are right there if you never see Marmol over a 3-game set. Of course, it could be 3 blowouts one way or the other. And that's certainly been the case the first 2 games of this series, not today. Like, the Cubs have not played many games like this at all. I mean, you can say that, you know, nearly half, 15 to their 31, have been decided by 2 runs or less. But you know, 16 of them have not been, and they have played in a huge number of blowouts. I mean, all you need to do is look at the save chances. Marmol has only 5 save opportunities the entire year. It's 4 out of 5. Gomes got underneath that one and pops it up. Coy Hill back near the screen with the room, 1 away. Cardinals are leading the Pirates 6-2. That game in the 6th inning in Pittsburgh. Cardinals trying to get out of there, winning 2 out of 3 over the weekend. Those have been a couple of very close games. Drew Stubbs looks at a fastball strike. Stubbs a pair of ground outs to Castro. One of them knocked in a run. And then Drew struck out against Ryan Dempster in the 6th inning.
I got to figure these guys had to be teammates, right? At the University of Texas. Isn't that where James Russell went to school? He was signed by the Cubs in 2007, 14th round draft pick. And of course, Stubbs was the #1 pick of the Reds in 2006. So at some point they had to cross paths as teammates.
Well, I know Russell attended the University of Texas. He did not finish there. He actually left there. Graduated from the Votto Junior College in 2006.
That's when he was.
So in 07, then he was drafted out of Texas.
Drafted by the Mariners out of Navarro Junior College. Did not sign, and then moved up a little bit in the draft and took the offer that the Cubs made him.
Well, it's a little odd they wouldn't tell you anything about Russell's collegiate career, even the 1 year in Texas. Oh, and 2 the count on Drew Stubbs. High pop up. Bird and Colvin there, and Colvin will give way to the veteran in center field for round number 2.
After every Reds game, Fox Sports Ohio breaks down the game and talks to the players and coaches on Reds Live, brought to you by King's Honda. In the King's Auto Mall, visit kingshondausa.com.
Chris, I know, along with the rest of the entire Reds team, you'll be jumping on the charter after the game today and making your way a quick, about 40-minute flight over to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Get ready to open a 3-game series here tomorrow night. St. Paul Keels will be back in the booth tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll be televising the first 2 games of that series on Monday and Tuesday, and hopefully the Reds will get a little offense going in Pittsburgh, which they had a hard time doing back the last time they were over in PNC Park. Back to those Pirates, they pitch well at home, really well.
Well, you know, today they really should be going for that 3-game sweep over the Cardinals. I don't know if anybody out there had a chance to see a couple of plays that happened in that game on Friday night, but the Cardinals were handed that game by the Pirates. Pop up to first, ends the inning. We go to the ninth. Cordero trying to nail it down, leading 5-3.
And a leaping grab by Joey Votto. Snagged that one out of midair, and all around the infield, there is laying some leather on the Cubs today. That is our John Morrell hot dog play of the game, and he ought to be our John Morrell hot dog player of the game with that home run that he hit in the 7th inning after he turned in that fine bit of defensive work. Lance Nix takes over in left, and Francisco Cordero, the Reds closer, comes on to try to put the Cubs away here in the 9th inning.
Cordero 9 of 11 in save chances. Opponents batting .270 against Francisco Cordero. One of his saves came against Chicago. The last time the Cubs were in town, you may remember he allowed that home run to Derek Lee to make it a 1-run game. And then after a couple of errors, the Cubs had the bases loaded with 2 outs in the 9th inning before he got Chad Tracy on a pinch hitter on a roller back to the mound to end the game. 0-1 to Derek Lee. Marlon Byrd to follow, then Aramis Ramirez. In there, a fastball strike. We thank our producer for today's game, Brian Hunterman, our director, Roy Alvers, our associate producers, Matt Sigafus and Lauren White. Pre-game show producer of Reds Live is Kent Weaver. Coordinating producer of Reds Baseball, Doug Johnson. The executive producer at Fox Sports Ohio, Tom Farmer. Up here in the booth, Mark Wagner, Jesse Jackson, and our entire crew for being with us during this entire homestand. We hope you enjoyed it. A 3-game road trip coming up, but again, the first 2 on the tube, as Chris mentioned. And then the entire homestand beginning Friday night on TV against St. Louis and Milwaukee. Routine fly ball to Stubbs, 1 out in the 9th.
Well, a bigger swing than what the reaction of the fans were, especially the Cubs fans that have stuck around for this one. They thought maybe Derek Lee got that one, but he got it on the end of the bat.
Not a lot of noise from the Cubby contingent after Friday night.
Well, they were vocal Friday.
Yes, very. Marlon Byrd looks at ball 1.
You know, oftentimes the closer comes in, pitches the 9th inning, and he gets the 8, 9, and 1 in the order or somewhere off other than the meat of the order. This time, Cordero going right into the teeth of the main part of this order. He'll earn it. The count on Marlon Byrd. 1 out, nobody on in the 9th. 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes on Marlon Byrd. Just low. And wide. Cabrera charging, throws on the run, snatched out of there by Votto. Nicely done on both ends. And that was not an easy play by Francisco Cordero. He had a little bit of overspin on that ball, a little quick short hop to him. And a much tougher snag at the other end by Joey Votto. Doing a little Wilson Pickett this afternoon.
So now the Reds fans come to their feet. Anticipating the game's final out, it's Aramis Ramirez, the batter, 1 for 3 and an infield hit. And Reds scored on the home run by Colvin, which in the 7th gave Chicago a 3-2 lead after having been one hit through the first 6 2/3. But in the bottom of the 7th inning, a couple of hits in front of Joey Votto, and he launched a 3-run home run to right center field to give the Reds his 2-run lead. Not over yet. 2-run game with 1 out to go. Leak in line for the win. Dempster would suffer the loss. And it's fouled out of play by Ramirez, and now Cordero has him around the neck at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ramirez got a piece of it to hang around. We talked about what an important game this was today for the Reds. A chance to go 4-2 on the homestand. Series wins against the Mets and the Cubs, a couple of teams that believe they are contenders in the National League this year. Soft ground ball to Phillips, and the Reds take 2 out of 3 from the Cubbies. The rookie sensation Mike Leake goes to 3-0 on the year, aided by a 7th inning 3-run bomb from Joey Votto. And the fireworks blast off, celebrating a 4th win in the 6 games on his homestand.
Well, you do a nice job on his homestand. You do the same thing to the Mets, who came in here previously. You've got the Cubs 2 out of 3. And a matchup of, I think, the pitchers that the Cubs really like their chances today with Ryan Dempster on the mound. But that young man, Mike Leake, just continues to impress, continues to shut down the opposition, made it look awfully easy today. And the Reds got him enough runs to hang on for a win, 5-3. They'll hit the road, head to Pittsburgh for 3, plus in 45 minutes.
Reds need to really focus in now in these 3 games in Pittsburgh. You've got